Well, one of the highlights of my trip to Israel was having the pleasure of sitting down with Yael Eckstein, the CEO of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Her heart is so full of love, and I hope you get a sense of connection, not just to the land of Israel, but to the people of Israel as well. Enjoy my conversation with Yael Eckstein. Yael, it is just a delight to get to visit with you. Most importantly, in Israel. Thank you for joining me.
Governor Huckabee, it is such a blessing to me personally and to everyone here in Israel that as we're in the midst of this war, you are coming to Israel to stand in solidarity with us. So it's an honor to be sitting with you here.
Over the years that we have been friends, and it's been a joy for me to be able to partner with the fellowship, I've seen firsthand the work that you do. And up until this war, you had your plate full. And it was helping people with food, people that didn't have anything in their homes until you brought them a box of life-saving food. It was about providing bomb shelters for families that didn't have them. There were a lot of things that the fellowship did. But October the 7th changed everything. Hamas attacks the civilians of Israel, slaughtering innocent women, children, babies. It's the most grotesque kind of attack that we've seen since the Holocaust. What has happened and changed for the mission of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews since the war started?
Well, Governor, I think there's so much that has changed for Jews and Christians alike in Israel and America and around the world since October 7th. What we have learned very clearly is that there is evil in our midst. And they are trying to destroy, kill, get rid of the Judeo-Christian values that we hold dear. And so it feels like October 7th marked a time where God was calling me and this ministry to say everything that has happened in the past 40 years has been bringing you to this moment now. On October 7th, we were on the front lines, giving first responders gear, whatever we had in our storage units in order to save lives of the people going down south to fight the terrorists. We were standing there on the border distributing bulletproof vests and helmets. And on live television, we watched on prime time as they were interviewing one of the first responders wearing our vest. He came under fire, and that vest saved his life on live television. International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. And so it's the bomb shelters, it's getting the hospitals ready for mass casualties, it's letting the people of Israel know, as anti-Semitism is on the rise, that there are millions of Christians around the world that will never abandon us, that will never turn their back on Israel and the Jewish people. And I believe God is calling all of us now to this moment to say, am I my brother's keeper? And by you sitting here with me right now, and as we stand on the border, and as we minister and bring food to the needy, I think the answer is very clearly, finally in this generation, looking up to God and saying, yes, I am my brother's keeper.
I'm happy that so many American Christians have responded to the call. And there has been an urgent call from the fellowship asking American Christians to stand with their Jewish friends and the people of Israel. For many of us, this is a biblical issue. This is not just a humanitarian issue. It is certainly that. Don't want to minimize it. Likely we would do it for people under assault anywhere. But there is a biblical connection. And that's really where the fellowship comes from. Its mission from the very beginning, when your father created it, was all about bringing Christians and Jewish people together to help them understand that they have common ground from the Bible.
Yes. We're the grassroots masses representing the Christians who will never abandon Israel. The 5,000 plus bomb shelters that we've built that say
5,000
donated with love by Christians. And we've been in bomb shelters together. It feels very vulnerable when you're there and there's rockets overhead. Can you imagine that Jewish family or Holocaust survivor in the bomb shelter that says, a Christian in America loves you and donated this? That's what we represent. And it's a biblical calling, and it's a humanitarian, and it's a brotherhood, but it's these Judeo-Christian values in action that we see every day.
I hear Christians in America, they say, you know, God tells me in Genesis 12 He will bless those who bless Israel. He will curse those who curse Israel. A lot of my Christian friends will say, what can we do? I want to be blessed. I don't want to be cursed. We've seen the incredible impact of the Fellowship's organization, what you've done. You mentioned the person who was saved by simply by having a bulletproof vest that he wouldn't have had it not been for somebody in America writing a check, using their credit card, making a contribution that resulted in a life saved. I have to believe God looks down and says, good work. This is good stuff. How can people take the next step? What can they do in a very practical way to be a blessing to their Jewish friends?
It's incredible how there's a direct connection between making a $40 donation, an elderly Holocaust survivor on the border with Gaza getting a food box that she's been praying for. That so little makes such a big impact when it comes to food aid, when it comes to a food box. There are people right now in Israel, on the borders, under rocket attack. There are hundreds of thousands of rockets that could be launched any second from Iran targeting these very same people, and they need food. And so the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is here for people in America, people around the world, who could call up, make a donation, $25, $40, $50, and in an instant, that is transformed into life-giving food.
I've seen it firsthand. You and I have been together on occasions to visit soup kitchens. We've gone into people's homes where we had to climb up 4 or 5 flights of stairs to get to an elderly person's home who had not left that home for 9 years because they were too disabled to go up and down steps. So I've seen this, and it's why I'm so very thrilled that the fellowship is a part of the Huckabee Show, because I'd like to believe that maybe we can influence a lot of American Christians to join us in the process of helping. But you're faced with a whole new array of needs because of a war. I mean, you had plenty to do before there was a war, but the war has escalated. There are, 100,000 plus Israelis that have had to leave their homes because rockets from Hezbollah in the north and rockets from Hamas in the south have forced them to have to get out of their homes. They have to go live in a hotel. That gets very expensive.
We have evacuees in Israel who haven't been able to live at home for over 10 months. That means that they can't work, that they don't have all of their belongings, that they have to start over. And by this point, we see that people are falling apart. Yeah. The school year just started, for example, and we see over 60% of families can't afford basic school supplies for their children because they haven't worked in 10 months, because their businesses has been closed down, because they don't have a home or any of their belongings. And so every day we're faced with different needs. When we learned about that need for the evacuees, we started a program to buy evacuee poor children school supplies. And it's something that's $60 to buy all of their school supplies, but it's the difference between a child feeling loved, first of all, and having pencil, backpack, the basics, the book that they need, or going to school without anything. And so every day we're faced with those types of reality checks of life during war, of needs during war. Some of them are more urgent than others. There are fires in northern Israel being started by rockets that are being launched every single day, sometimes hundreds of rockets. We need fire equipment. There's not enough fire equipment to put them out. And so the fellowship, within 4 days of learning of this need, provided fire equipment to the first responders. And so I would say, Governor, it's this beautiful, inspiring, godly mix of meeting basic needs, saving lives, and giving the spiritual message to the people of Israel. Christians, stand with you. You are not alone.
I think it's powerful to remember that the Israeli government is spending everything it has and can get to defend itself. And it's not to defend itself against, a handful of marauders. We're talking about some very vicious people financed by Iran, who, if they had their way, would utterly annihilate Israel and would carry out this chant we hear on some college campuses, from the river to the sea, which is basically saying, eradicate Israel. So the government's really beyond ability in Israel to do a lot of things, but the fellowship has stepped in. When you talk about fire trucks, I'm thinking, how many relief organizations give a fire truck to a community? But you're doing it because it's the need that you have.
Yes, wherever there's a need, we will be. And as you're talking, I'm remembering, which I think about many times a day, what a miracle it is that Israel is here at all. Let's remember that we are the size of New Jersey. We're 0.4% of the landmass of the Middle East, surrounded by 99.6% of the landmass of enemies.
Yeah.
We're one Jewish country with 22 countries in the Arab Union. We have to be one step ahead militarily than every other country ahead of us or surrounding us. Otherwise, we're not here tomorrow.
You and I were together at lunch in Tel Aviv at a restaurant after doing some work with the fellowship, not too many weeks after October 7th. Yeah. And as we were simply having a visit and lunch, the sirens went off. Yeah. And we were forced to go down to the shelter in the restaurant. Above us, we heard the Iron Dome intercept a rocket right above our heads. Yeah. And I'm thinking, this is something I don't see every day back home in Arkansas. How do the Israelis have the resilience to every day see bombardments of rockets that are intended to kill them?
Yes.
But they go about their business. How do they get that?
Every day, cafes and buses were being blown up, but the cafes were still full because life has to be celebrated. It's a gift of God. And so after October 7th, Israel was rated the 5th happiest country in the world. Even after October 7th, we're happy because we're here, because we're alive. And for the Jewish people, that's not a given.
It also occurs to me that there is a sense of destiny. The Jewish people of Israel recognize that they're living in a land, it's not just a piece of real estate.
Yeah.
It's a land that God gave them title deed to from the time of Abraham. And he said, you're my people, this is your land, here are the boundaries, and this is yours. And I get the impression that the people of Israel feel like, you know, God gave us this. This isn't about just us. This is what God told us to take care of. And by golly, nobody's going to move us off the land that God gave us. There is that sense of destiny that I sense among Israelis that I just don't see anywhere else in the world.
This land is not just a piece of real estate.
Yeah.
This land is our past, our present, our future. And when we didn't have this land, we were scattered among all the nations. We were persecuted. We were killed. 6 million Jews were burned in gas chambers just 2 generations ago. My grandfather's family, my father-in-law's family, everyone you look at here in Israel, their family has been persecuted. Whether it's the Middle East, the former Soviet Union, Germany, that this piece of land represents God's promise to us that you are my people and you will be my people forever.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Yael Eckstein. You can show your love for Israel and the people of Israel by becoming a partner with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and lending your support. Go to her guest page at Huckabee.tv to get all the links.